Welcome, everyone. We're excited that you're joining us today for this webinar. We look forward to getting to know all of you as you embark on School of Innovation plans, or if you're just looking to learn more about what's going on in educational innovation. My name is Denise Arola. I'm with the Office of Innovation for Education. Let's go ahead and get started. I like to start things by talking about where we are right now. And in our world today in education, life's gotten a little complicated. Our current reality can sometimes be just a little overwhelming, and I think this 30 seconds of video captures that.
Honey, just remember, anxiety about change is really just a fear of losing control.
But Dr. Bond, that's just it. I have no control. None. Not an ounce of it. I've been in elementary education for 23 years, and I've seen open classrooms and back to basics, whole language, hooked on phonics, higher standards, no standards. You do your thing, but don't do that thing. Assertive discipline, no discipline, student-based education, outcome-based education, mastery learning, master teachers, merit grades, mentoring programs, peer coaching. I've done it all.
You know, she captures how we feel about change sometimes quite well, and she also captures our current reality. It's when we look at change and innovation, how do leaders lead change when the nature of change is also changing? That's another struggle that we're really dealing with these days. You know, it used to be that you would choose a path, you'd set your school improvement plan, and you'd start walking in that path, and there were tools along the way that would get you down that path a little bit faster, like this moving walkway. But these days, it seems as though the things that we're trying to do and the changes that are happening around us are not so much typical or incremental like they were in the past, where things would stay the same for periods of time, and then maybe you'd have some rapid change, and then all of a sudden things would change a little bit. Where upheaval was not the norm, today, here we are dealing with this rapid rate of change, and it's no surprise. Our office had the opportunity to look at the past 15 years of high-level state strategic initiatives, and it's mind-boggling to think about from the 1990s through the present, so many different initiatives have happened. And now it seems that offices of innovation and this idea about schools of innovation is popping up everywhere. Well, how do you navigate all of that? The Office of Innovation for Education was established in January of 2013 to help schools and leaders and teachers and parents even to navigate this idea of innovation and change. We are headquartered at the University of Arkansas in the College of Education, which is very fitting. And right now we just have our 3 staff members. Myself, I'm the director, Denise Arola. Jeff Dean is our research associate, and Jackie Micheletto is our research assistant. And when we embarked on this work as an office, we sat down and tried to think about how is it we want to go about working with schools and doing what we've been asked to do. And we thought about it, and these really are the values that we're coming to you with. We're looking for lasting value. We don't want to be, we're not a silver bullet solution. We're not going to come in and say, do this and it'll fix everything. It's not about the short term, although there can be short-term wins. We really want to help you set yourselves up for lasting value in what you're doing. We also want to work with you. We're not here to impose things on you. We're here really to be a partner, to listen to you, to hear what your needs are, and then to use the information that we're learning to help inform you about what's out there that could help you meet your needs. That's the role that we are striving for. We also want to be accessible to you regardless of where you're located, whether that means coming to you physically, or if that means talking with you on the phone, through email, or through the web. We've held several meetings already with this web interface, with Zoom and with other web interfaces. So we want to be accessible and helpful to you. We're also committed to integrity in the work that we do with you. So if we know about a research or a particular issue that's going on, we're going to inform you about that so that you can make the most informed decisions in how you move forward with innovation. And finally, we are Arkansas focused. when we go travel outside the state, it is not to go and become a national presence. It's to bring the information we learn back to Arkansas so that Arkansas can use ideas and information to really engage in innovation. So we exist as an office basically to enhance the statewide capacity to research, implement, and evaluate educational innovations, promising practices, interventions, strategies, programs, things that have a high likelihood of improving outcomes for your students. That's why we're here, to help you with that. Our role is not to be involved in compliance. We will not be the people that will say yes or no if you're submitting a School of Innovation application. We might give information to the department to help inform their decisions. We will also help you by giving you information to inform your plan, but we are not the ones who ensure compliance with Act 601, which is Districts of Innovations and School of Innovation. That's not our role. Our role instead is to be a resource to you for generating, investigating, and then designing ideas and opportunities to help you meet the needs of your students in your community. We are involved in thinking outside the box. So we try not to put any other constraints around us, but to look and see what's out there, what could possibly work, and to bring that to the questions and the problems that you're trying to solve. We especially want to connect you to others, whether they're in the state or whether they're across the country or internationally, that are doing the types of things that you're interested in pursuing, so that you can hear from them lessons learned and you can get guidance and have collaborators to help you along as you engage in innovation in your local schools. We want to inform your implementation design, so when you sit down to plan this out, we can really help you think through the elements of what you're doing to improve the likelihood of your success for your students. And we also spend a lot of time researching and informing the conditions that support successful innovation solutions for students. So somebody might be doing something that's really interesting, but what conditions need to be created to help that to be successful so that you don't crash and burn in your attempts to go out there and innovate. And finally, part of the role that we're playing is, as we're interacting with you, we're taking into consideration what your needs are, the solutions you're trying, the barriers you're encountering, the constraints that are perhaps making it difficult or holding you back, and we're feeding that information back into the higher levels of the system so that they can understand what they can do to help enable you to be very innovative in the way that you meet your students' needs. So if that means talking to them about high-level policies or things in measurement and accountability that are impacting you, that's part of the role that we play in terms of helping the Department of Education. We have our own website. You can find out more about us at innovativeed.org. There are pages for teachers, education leaders, parents and community and students. We blog on a semi-regular basis when we get new information. We've tried to make our site interactive as well. We want to hear from you. So don't hesitate to visit our website. What I'd like to do now is now that I've introduced you to the Office of Innovation, I want to introduce you to the work that we're doing and hopefully inspire and ignite some curiosity in you about some of the innovations that we're seeing. And I like to start when a friend of mine found out that I was doing this Office of Innovation, they said, well, what are you going to invent? And I said, well, it's not always about invention. And I went to the dictionary and I found the definition. What does it mean to innovate? Well, sometimes it is introducing something new. Sometimes it is inventing. Sometimes it's making changes in something that's established. It's introducing something as if for the first time, or changing something that you're already doing. So innovating, I try not to be boxed in by other people's perceptions about what that means. And because of that, we go and seek things that we may not have considered, or I may not have considered prior under old constraints. Now, you might be asking yourself, why is this big focus happening in terms of innovation? Why now? I have seen offices of innovation, centers of innovation. I've seen people's positions within their school districts, their titles, start to include the word innovation. Why is there such a focus on this right now? Many people would tell you it's because the educational system is broken. And I want to show you a video that I think will kind of ignite some of the ideas here. But I want to tell you, I don't believe that our system is broken. I do believe that our system needs to change, and in some ways, some of it needs to change quickly, and some of it can change not as quickly. But when I show you this video, know that I'm not showing it to you to pass judgment on the work that we're all doing right now. It's more to get you moving and thinking about what the possibilities are. So I want you to watch this and think about, as they talk through this, why would you innovate? Why now? And what might be some of the possibilities?
What do we think of when we think of the future? As a country, we have always embraced the future and discussed many big ideas about what the future may hold. All of us have a common interest in the future: kids. What does the future hold for them? Our current system is failing our kids and our country. We know that America is falling behind. We are not getting kids where they need to be in reading, science, and math. Education is a critical part of the solution to every problem we face. The key question is, what does the future of learning look like, and how will we create it? When we think about the future, we're usually doing one of two things: dreaming or dreading. When we dream, we start with an idea, a positive trend, and take this idea to its logical conclusion. We imagine a utopia that represents our hopes for all that's possible. Maybe that idea is a belief in the promise of technology to transform learning. What would that look like? We might dream of being able to assess each student's needs and then magically give them exactly what they need, exactly when they need it. But this is impossibly perfect and simplistic, ignoring the complexities of the learning process. When we dread, we start with a fear, a downward trend, and we likewise play out this idea to its logical conclusion. We imagine a dystopia, one filled with our fears of what might happen in the future. Here, the very same issue, the use of technology in the classroom, might veer off in a completely wrong direction with dreadful outcomes. Kids trapped in a matrix of robotic instruction. Of course, this is equally simplistic and ignores technology's potential. Whether dreaming or dreading, our role in the future we imagine is usually passive, where the future is something that happens to us and to those around us. But there's a third way we can think about the future. Between dreaming and dreading lies designing. For designers, the future isn't a far-off place. It's a place where they work every day. Design is a form of activism. We imagine the future we want, then pick up the tools to start building it. Designers see the world as a kit of parts. They reshape and reassemble the best pieces from what's already out there to create something new and better. So what does it take to rethink learning? It's not about replication. It's about selecting and integrating many different parts to create the foundation of a new model. This is the art of integrative design. From birth to adulthood, society's purpose is critical: to accelerate our learning. And what's most important for kids today is learning how to learn. Society must develop learners ready to tackle challenges they cannot anticipate. Education is the system we created to serve that purpose. Over 100 years ago, we invented modern schooling to send kids to one of three main places: the factory, the farm, or the university. We always lost some kids, but this model provided a middle-class life for most and economic growth. Over time, the economy changed. Farm jobs diminished and office jobs surged. College grads always had better access, but there was also a path straight from high school to the office. As office work changed, it got harder to get there from high school. Eventually, that path disappeared. College became the main path to opportunity. We started sending more kids to college, but we didn't change the overall system. Education broke down, trapping too many kids on paths that no longer made sense for them or for the country.
Where do you fall on that? Are you a dreamer? Are you a dreader? Are you somebody who thinks in terms of design? And when you think about innovation, where do you likely fall? I think that our schools are staffed with creative individuals that sometimes fall more on the dream side, and then we have those who are more pragmatic and fall more on the dread side. If they're like me, they constantly work with their catastrophic thinking mindset. I'm very good at dreading. And then there are those who just, like in the video, pick up a tool and start designing. And there are a lot of people out there who have been designing innovative ways to take advantage of some of the things in our society that are rapidly changing, such as technology. And we think about blended learning models. Most of us have heard about blended learning, and we've seen it going on. I was doing blended learning in 1995 in my classroom in Fayetteville at Jefferson Elementary. And at the time, I was doing a station rotation. I had some Apple IIe computers that the school didn't know how to get rid of, and they wanted to store them in my room. And my students said, "Can we use them, Miss Arola?" And I said, "Sure, if you can show me how you do that." And from there, it blossomed into a school newsletter, and it became a way for the students to interact and report back to their peers for the student council and in other ways. So blended learning isn't something new, but how we go about doing blended learning because of technology and its usefulness as a tool, that has really changed. And now we see all kinds of models that happen within the school day and also that happen across days. Some of them happen within traditional schools and some of them happen in this virtual setting. And it's really about making the best use of what is available to us. Again, I want to give you an opportunity to think through, what would you design? If you didn't spend your time dreaming that oversimplistic dream, or you didn't spend your time dreading what possible catastrophes could befall you if you have to engage in this new way of doing things, what would you instead design for your students, for your schools? This next video was put together by the Colorado Legacy Foundation. Colorado was one of the first states to pass a School of Innovation Act that allowed schools to waive some of their standards in order to deliver education to some students in a different way. At first, they were having difficulty getting people to jump on board. And then this foundation, the Colorado Legacy Foundation, provided this video to kind of jumpstart everybody's thinking. And they did so in what I believe is a really exciting way. You can see there's just a plethora of ideas out there. And really, this wave of innovation that's sweeping us, there was one particular point in that video where they talked about try new things, measure results, adjust, repeat. That's really what it's about. And we have that opportunity in Arkansas because of the possibilities through Act 601, Districts of Innovation and Schools of Innovation. But where do you start? And how do you get over that fear of crashing and burning? You know, I chose this picture because surfing is one of those incredibly exhilarating activities. And you can see from the picture, it's got to be an incredible adrenaline rush to be riding that wave perfectly through that cylinder of energy with all of that energy carrying you to the shore. And some of us do that. And sometimes it works out beautifully and you have this wonderful ride in. Sometimes we're sitting out there on those big swells and we're afraid to catch the wave. So we think, okay, we'll play it safe. We'll just sit on our board out here in the big swells. And the problem with that is eventually you can be shark bait. So at some point in time, you either need to catch the wave or find your way into shore. Sometimes we want to catch the wave, but we go so fast and with so little information that we catch the wave and then it crushes us, and all of that energy makes us shy about going back out and catching the next wave. So where do we start? How do we do this? And that's what our office is for. It's really to gather information and to be a resource to those of you who want to try and catch that wave, and you want to do it in such a way that you're the most successful at getting great outcomes for yourselves, your teachers, and your students. So we're investigating all kinds of innovations and blended learning opportunities, and we're also looking at the challenges and what people have learned. For example, we've been gathering information about digital content, and there are a lot of different vendors out there who provide information or who provide online courses, but they're not all created equal. And what are some of the things that you should be thinking about? What are the questions you need to answer to choose high-quality, rigorous digital content? What about access and bandwidth and other concerns? How can we help you with that or inform policymakers about the help that you need? What about learning management systems? How do those help a teacher do that job of personalizing education for students? What about competency-based education? What are other states and other schools doing in this area to personalize the pathways to college or career readiness for their students? And how do these things connect to college and career readiness? Or how will we still be ready for our next generation assessments if we try this innovative approach? And how does that dovetail with accountability policies? And how can what we're learning help really shape policy development? As you try new innovations, especially through the Act 601, you're going to be informing the state and our state's leaders about what we need to be changing in the future in terms of our standards for schools. So it's a very exciting time. It's not without its perils, but luckily Others have been engaging in innovations, and we've learned a lot from them so far that we want to share with you. For example, one of the biggest lessons learned, the people we've talked to have said, it's not just about the technology. First, figure out what are your needs, how do you think you're going to meet those needs, and then how will technology help you meet those needs. So it really needs to be about the learning solution before you think about the technology. Technology should be the way that you make whatever it is you're doing, your solution, more affordable or more reliable or more available, maybe more customizable, maybe it provides you with more data. It's a tool rather than the solution. So if we get those in the right order, we're going to maximize our potential for success. We also have learned from others who have caught that wave and crashed that if you start with a cohort of students or a cohort of teachers, rather than trying to dig a pathway, a personalized instruction for everyone, sometimes you're more successful. There are students whose needs aren't being met through our traditional system, but there also are a large number of students whose needs are being met, and some of these innovative strategies don't fit them. And so we do need to think about who are the students whose needs would best be met by these innovative ways, and how could we start with a cohort and raise them up. And before you think about the barriers and the constraints, think about the possibilities, and then use Act 601, this statute, to remove some of those constraints. Very importantly, consider kid fit, teacher fit, and leader fit. As I mentioned previously, not all students are going to be successful in some of these more personalized pathways for instruction. We know that. We have been trying to modify and differentiate our instruction for years. And just because kids are digital natives with social media and they can Snapchat and they can show you how to save your picture and send it on, that doesn't mean they know how to learn with technology. So there is still a very vital role for those of us who are professional educators and leaders to really look at, for which students is this the right fit? And as we move in those directions, if a student is struggling with online learning, how can we help them to develop some of those self-regulation skills, that internal motivation that can help them to be more successful? Teachers' roles change depending on how you use technology, and having the right teacher fit is critical, and having the support of a leader who understands those challenges is also very critical. As somebody who was a textbook adoption administrator, somebody who had to lead that process, this last bullet is really, really important. Believe half of what vendors tell you they can do with their technology right now, and none of what they say they're able to do in the future. This I have learned to be true. Most of the people we're talking to that are making decisions about online digital content, online learning management systems, online assessments to inform their instruction, they are avoiding long-term contracts with vendors. They're staying within a year or less because things are changing so rapidly and the technology is improving so rapidly that you want to make sure that you leave yourself with the possibility of changing as you need to go. And the market is heading in that direction, so that's a really important point to make. We're also looking at resources and models that we have either seen or intend to see. The Christensen Institute, these links are available on our website. They have an entire site devoted to blended and online learning, and you can look for schools that are using different design options to meet very specific needs, whether it's dropout prevention, credit recovery, at risk. It's also how do I use blended learning to improve outcomes with my English language learners, etc. So a lot of different ways that people are innovating. Innovations High School in Salt Lake City, Utah is a really neat place to go and see what they're doing with online learning and how they're flipping the role of teachers to one of designers and facilitators of learning to meet the more personalized needs of students and to help students graduate either career ready with industry certification or college ready with at least 18 hours of credit before they head out the door. The Keeping Pace 2013 resource has over 20 pages of really helpful timelines for planning and working with blended and online learning innovations. And they have questions to help guide you through the planning process. So that's a key resource that you could be using. The INACOL, International Association for K-12 Online Learning, they're a great organization with resources on the latest in emerging research on what's effective. And Council of Chief State School Officers has an Innovations Lab network that can help us connect you to schools that are doing things that are different to meet their students' needs. Competency Works is a great website to go to if you're interested in personalized pathways that allow students to move through their course of study in a different sense of timing than the traditional seat time. Excellent resources there about what you can do and how to plan and move into this as an implementation. And it's being done all across the state in New Hampshire, Oregon, Maine, and Iowa. It's doable, and they're showing us how. College and Career Readiness with a Twist. There are additional resources here. The American Youth Policy Forum is rich with information. That's your tax dollars at work. Also, 21st Century Skills and Global Best Practices for secondary learning. And finally, many of these centers have webinars that are very relevant to considerations you may have in moving towards innovation. Ultimately, our goal is to support you in meeting the needs of your community and your students. And ultimately, the idea is that our students across the state of Arkansas will graduate from their K-12 or pre-K through 12 experience with command of skills and knowledge and how to be a lifelong learner, that they will be able to transfer to new areas they're learning and apply it in their careers. And how we go about getting there, really the possibilities are endless, and it's just the limits of our imagination. So we're here to help you in that endeavor. Our contact information is here. Our contact information is right up here, 479-575-4499. And you can also email us, and we will get back with you. We'll work with you. We'll do what we can to support your efforts. Again, we have a lot of links and information that we're trying to provide. We will feature a school a month so that you can look at that information. Just a great way to connect with us. If you're